if Faircamp and Bandwagon had to fight to the death, which application would win?
I would say bandwagon. They're just
What?
cooler. I don't know.
You're supposed to say your application. That doesn't...
No.
All right. Well, I'll ask Ben the same question. Let's see if he agrees when I talk to him. Welcome, Fedi Friends, to episode 34 of Fireside Fedi. I'm your host, Ozoned. Fireside Fedi is a show about folks within the Fediverse. If you're seeing this, you're a part of the Fediverse. With me today is Simon Repp. Simon is working on media and systems with a focus on ethics, simplicity, and sustainability. In 2025, he's primarily working on Faircamp and the Hyper8 video system, both static site generators for audio and video. Simon, welcome, and how would you like to be addressed?
Hi, just Simon. It's fine.
Just okay, just Simon. But sorry, I'm a dad. I have to have terrible dad jokes. So welcome. You are a man of many different projects. It seems like we were talking about it before the start of the show. But before we dive into those, how did you get to where you're at today?
Oh, simple questions first.
Right?
So I would say like the strand of work that I'm doing these days, I probably got into through a client that I've been working with for a long time now. So I've been like a freelance software developer for a bit over 10 years. And somewhere along the way, I picked up a client that I stuck with until now. So probably for around 8, 9 years now. And they're doing really cool stuff here in Vienna. They have a magazine for urban culture and urban arts and urban research. And yeah, basically back then the question was whether I would be willing to work them on their, like help them on their website to get it to a new version, which they wanted to get online for a long time. And back then, my condition for that was that we make it a statically generated site, because I didn't want to pick up that project as like some dynamic solution that sits on a server and where I can worry about that all the time. And so basically that sort of set me on this trajectory of really playing a lot with static site generation and all the way up to the projects that we're going to talk about today. I see on the chat that my audio is a little low, so I might turn it
Oh,
up a bit.
I was adjusting it on my end too. So
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
don't even,
Perfect.
hopefully it's better, or at least more in line with mine now. Okay, so why did you in kind of enforce static site generation on the client?
Yeah, so basically, I think I can worry a lot about things going wrong. And so something that runs on a server and just dynamically does stuff is something that, yeah, adds to my worries. And so basically, my idea was just that I want to have something that lets me sleep peacefully at night. And so that was the idea why I wanted it
So
to only do it if we do it static. Yeah, pretty much that.
pragmatic. So you could sleep well at night. I love that reason. Did you have experience with static site generators before that then?
That's an excellent question. I'm not sure actually. Probably, yeah. I think I must have, because otherwise I think I probably wouldn't have proposed it if I didn't feel at least confident that I can pull it off in some way. But I wouldn't really know what exactly that was. Maybe like running Jekyll or something at some point.
Okay.
But
But that's running someone else's static site generator, right? So you were creating a static site website inside a
yeah,
static site generator. And then you fell in love with static site generators, or
no, I mean I just feel they're so handy. They work so well. I just can't keep making new projects in that sort of space. I always feel a
Okay.
bit like weird about it by now. Like I'm the static site generator dude, and I do only that. Like I wouldn't mind sometimes like doing something else. It's also, I think it gets a bit weird if you like program the same stuff over and over again, because then at some
Right.
point you feel like, why am I repeating all this all the all the time? Should this maybe be encapsulated in a library? But then I feel like no, it's like all fine. It's just the things you have to sort of, like the boilerplate stuff you just have to set up in such a
Right.
project.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I guess I'm getting accustomed to the idea. It's just what it is. It's cool tech, and I just like
Okay.
using it. So
No, and that's I had used well on my we were talking about BT Free earlier on that website. I have a static site generator there, and I am not an artist, and it looks awful. So, what is your? Do you have anything that's like uh, Babby's first static site generator, or static site generator for dummies, or what is the easiest static site generator for you for layman? Whole bunch of questions there.
ooh,
Sorry,
um,
all roughly the
I,
same one though.
I couldn't say actually because these days I don't really use other people's static site generators, I think. Um, I mean, even to the point, I think I didn't ever try Hugo, I think, for instance,
Okay.
which maybe I should at some point. But then again, I think like lots of static site generators are more in the field of providing a generic framework, um,
Yes. Right.
which allows arbitrary sites to be generated. Whereas the stuff that I'm developing and more interested in is very like domain specific static site generators. And
Right.
I would
You're
love
very
to see,
focused.
yeah, and I would love to see many more people like do this. Like I would love to see static site generators for, I don't know, like whatever, like just very specific stuff.
So, well, then your favorite static site generator would be your own. You have multiple, right? What is your personal website? SimonRep.com. What does that run on?
Yeah, that's just some custom written static site generators, which I think I've been iterating on for well over 10 years probably now. Okay, this also, I think that now retrospectively answers your questions. Your question on like if I knew anything about static site generators when I approached that client. I think probably my own website was like the testing ground
Okay.
initially.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that definitely taught me a lot to begin with, like just to get into the topic. Um, and yeah, I think like over the years now, I'm sort of consolidating certain practices. Like whereas in the
So,
start, sorry, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Like in the beginning, I probably every 2 years or so, I changed like major aspects about the way I generate the static sites, or maybe more in the design or layouting field. But like I feel these days, some things I feel like I've explored all different options, like all different routes that can be
Sure.
taken to tackle a certain problem. And I
Right.
just gravitate to one solution now that I feel like this just has shown itself to be like the best way to do it. Like to give you an example, relative linking on static sites. That's something I've really now basically settled on. So because you can render a static site that has only absolute links in it,
Mm-hmm. Right.
um, you could even, I don't know, yeah, I mean, that's enough to explain it. You could have absolute links or you can have relative links. And I think there's a
Yep.
lot of static site generators actually that generate also absolute links. And I would never do that these days because it's just so much more flexible if you have relative links on a static site that you can move it wherever you want. Like say you start out at the root of the domain, then everything is fine. But as soon as you archive it, for instance, and move it to a subdomain, or not actually subdomain, but to a subfolder, then you get into problems if you rendered all the links absolute. So these days, for instance, this is for me
Then you have to
just
change all your links.
yeah, and so basically rendering relative links is for me now just a decision that's basically set from the start. I don't have to think about that anymore. That's just how I do it with a static set generator.
So, because we have an audience like that has all kinds of background. I just realized maybe we need to take a step back.
Yeah.
Can you define what a static site generator is? What makes it different from a dynamic site generator or a dynamic site, I should say? So you
Sure.
definitely know way more than I do. I've never thought about absolute versus relative paths in static site generators, but I know what they are. So yeah, please, you feels like you've done this. So go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, to present any website, right, you have some kind of a source material. And
Mm-hmm.
with most dynamic pages, this is in a database usually. And then on the server, you have some kind of a program, right, that takes the information from that database and converts it into a form that looks nice. So adds all the layout, the design, groups it, paginates it, whatever, and then sends it on the wire to the person that requested it. So all this happens like you enter the address, your browser opens that address, sends a request to that server, and then in the background it does all that stuff. So the site is basically built on demand, right for you in that instant. Technically, there's also some in-between solutions probably, but let's keep it simple. And that process can break in many ways because if there's a database, the database can be corrupt, broken, unavailable, whatever.
Right.
Likewise, in the script that builds that page on the fly, there could be an error. There could be, I don't know, maybe the runtime is not actually started, is not running. There's just a million of things that can go wrong. And on the other end, static site generator basically does that same process that would happen on a server in real time, but it does it beforehand. So you can have your entire website on your own computer locally on the disk, and it can also be in a database generally, but usually it's in just plain text files, for instance, or in a folder structure somehow. And then you just run a program, and that takes the source data and builds all the pages for that website at once.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically gives you a folder that contains the HTML files, CSS, JavaScript, images, sound files, whatever it is that you're presenting. And that final thing is basically, it's like a book. I always use it as a metaphor. You can basically just open it, you can read it. You cannot write in it. That's maybe a bit different from a physical book. But it's basically, it's already printed, right? It's not, it doesn't have to go through the printing process first. It's a done thing. It's like a PDF document also, if you will, right? You just open it and you look at it. And that's a static website. And then the only thing that you have to do to give it to the public is put it online, and then everybody can like read it, open it, browse it. And there's not really any potential for it to break in the ways that a normal dynamic website can.
See, and I love this. One, because you know way more about static site generators than I do, and you've had this explanation before. But two, we've literally gotten so far away from what the web originally was that we had to come back around and create a name for it, right? Like static site generator. That's what websites were to begin with. They were HTML files. But this is a little bit different in that I know that other, like you mentioned Hugo, and I used something else before, and they take Markdown, which is, you know, a defined thing like title, and then you put the title, and then, you know, summary, and you put the summary, and then page, and you type it out. And then the generator generates your HTML file from there. And it just gives you a nice, fast, non-bloated, no tracking, no ads page that just works on the web, and it works with anything, right? It is the epitome of the, you know, do one thing, do it well, and you don't try and cram everything into it so that websites take 10 seconds to load a freaking page because Google AdSense is out or something like that.
True.
So,
I have to say though, I mean, it's theoretically possible to also build a really bloated and bad static website experience as well. It's just less likely to happen.
Simon, I feel like there's a nerd out there somewhere that's like, you know what? I'm going to take on that challenge and see how long we can make a page load from a static site generator. Like security professionals are like, you know, drooling now. It's like, I'm going to do that. We need to look into that. But you have numerous static site generators that you built, plus a whole slew of projects and art and films and stuff like that. Where do you want to start? Because the first one on your page is Faircamp. And that's actually how I got in contact with you originally when I was looking to set up how to do the audio portion of this. One of my very trusted community members recommended Faircamp. And in hindsight, it might have been a good idea to go with Faircamp. But I went Castopod because it has that the Fediverse integration, which Castopod is awesome, but it adds a lot more complexity to it. So do you want to start with Faircamp?
Let's do that, yeah.
Okay. So there it is. I'm showing off Faircamp right now. And Faircamp is a static site generator for audio producers. First off, how did you come up with this idea? Where are you now with it? Where do you want to go with it?
I think it started around 2021, and I think I had more this sort of open question in my mind. Is it possible to build something like Bandcamp, which is originally really the inspiration for it, to build that as a static website? Sort of because, right, it's a bit like everybody knows that you can make static websites for text, for images, like regular websites. But I feel very media heavy sites, you don't see that so much with static site generation. Or probably a lot of people do it, but maybe it's not so present, I would say, in the public eye. So yeah, I wanted to give that a try. And then basically, I think I got a nerded myself into the design aspects a lot from the start. So the waveforms, that was one thing where I just put a lot of work in. And yeah, I posted some progress on the Fediverse. And yeah, there was like really good feedback. So people were quite interested in what I was doing there. And so yeah, I kept building a bit and experimenting. I mean, back then at a slower pace. And then some people, yeah, just gave it a try. And from there, it really just kept rolling and rolling, and more people using it. And then also starting, I think one year ago or so, I had like big funding to develop also big new features. Yeah, so since then it's only been growing more intense, I would say, as an endeavor in many good ways.
And it looks so it does say that you're a nonprofit, and you do have donation links, and I will link those in the video and the audio portion for those watching later. And you're also sponsored by NLNet, right? You have a fund established for that by NLNet, which they're doing amazing stuff to push a lot of technology, you know, so that regular users can run it. So you had to file
Yeah.
an NL grant and whatnot, I'm assuming.
Pardon, say again?
You had to file an NLNet grant, and you're partially funded.
Yeah,
by it.
basically I applied, I think at the start of or end of 2023, I think.
Oh,
And
cool.
then it just takes a while also for them to process everything because they get lots and lots of submissions.
Yep.
And yeah, I think in the middle of 2024 is when I then officially started also into the project.
Oh, nice.
And it went until some months ago. So I think about 3 to 4 months ago, I completed
Okay.
all the work packages. So that's a wrap, basically. The idea was really to have Faircamp 1.0 with, I don't know, some like 8 to 10 work packages. A lot about accessibility, improving that. I don't remember too much actually. Just lots of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but
But
that's
yeah.
good. I mean, it gives you the funding to have the time to build out the features that people are finding valuable, right? So,
No, it was amazing. Yeah, like I really enjoyed the whole process, like from beginning to end. Also because they have like a very low barrier submission process. So there's lots of grants that are super complex. We have to invest, I don't know, weeks to even just send off the application. But with an LNet, it's really very, yeah, very low barrier. You can finish it in a short amount of time. You don't have to invest super much to try and get the funding. And I think they have a really cool team that really gets the topics for which people apply. So I think they make very cool, just very cool evaluation process of the stuff. And they ask
yeah.
very on point questions also, like where do you want to take this? What are your like bigger plans beyond also what you wrote in the application, for instance? So I think it also helps to kind of get a feeling yourself where you could take the project even, because there's then people from different areas also looking at it and asking questions that you wouldn't even have in your mind uh, in the application itself. So that's super helpful already. And then the process itself is like very non-bureaucratic and just very much focusing on the work. So I love that. That was great.
Awesome. What, so again, you said in 2021 you started Faircamp, right? And you wanted to see if you can create a statically generated band camp. Was there a
Mm.
reason you were looking at that, or you just like, hey, I like music, I like static site generators. Let's see if we can marry the two.
I used to be a musician, and the idea was vaguely that if I ever were to publish music again, where would I do that? And my answer was roughly, okay, Bandcamp comes closest to where I would want to publish it, but it's not quite the thing I'm looking for because it's too much the idea of a market and a store. And I really just want to publish like for my own joy, like,
Yeah.
and I don't want it to compete or be too present on the market. So for that, I felt that like a statically generated thing would be perfect because it's kind of you can have it in your own secluded area of the web, and so this is where it came from my point of view. But then I think immediately thought about okay, how can I make this useful for others as well? So there was also the thinking about how could you have like a store or how can you have payment
Mm-hmm.
for albums, for instance, for musicians. And then the idea that I had was, okay, maybe you don't need to technically implement the payment process because you can't, right? It's a static website, so I can't
Yeah.
have dynamic payment integration, obviously. But I felt like the people on Bandcamp, like the scene, the community, is very much about uh, supporting the artists and not
Right.
about being freeloaders and just um, getting stuff for free, right? And so they want to
Yeah.
support the artists. And I felt like maybe it's not really so important to have that controlling mechanism and that sort of hard paywall where you technically ensure that the payment happens, but it's enough that you can just show people like here are options where you can pay for this, but technically you don't have to prove it to me, right? You can just click the checkbox and say I paid this just now, and then it takes you to the downloads. So it's basically a non-technical solution um, to the problem how to have payment in a static site. And of course, it's a bit of a joke also, but it's also serious. So it's a bit of both. Um, and this is also where the name comes from. So this is why it's Faircamp, because the idea was, could you have something that is based on fairness? That people just want to be fair, they want to support artists,
Yeah.
and so it's Bandcamp, but based on fairness. So
I love that. Okay. Yeah, and I see on your website, which I'm showing on the screen right now, you call it a soft pay curtain. Uh,
yes,
right? That's what we're talking about. But another thing that I saw is I just realized that you linked to Mel. There's a picture, Mel Joanne, who I believe I'm going to have on the show hopefully soon. Um, She's wonderful. She's awesome.
Yeah,
So
indeed.
you know Mel.
She wrote one of the first or the first Faircamp tutorial, and
No
it's
kidding.
it's very much loved by the community. It's a great tutorial. So yeah, amazing to have her in the community also.
And that's why one of the reasons again that I love this. I love the Fediverse because that's all we want. We just want to support each other, right? Directly, not through all these other platforms and things like that. And I had talked to Simon, and Faircamp and the other projects don't have Fediverse connectivity. He's looking into it, but we all know Fediverse connectivity is very difficult, and it might not be worth it. But at the end of the day, we can all agree we can make this stuff our own and still find a way to help benefit us. And as one person put it, actually free the creators to create what they want, and if people find value, to then pay the creator directly, right? You don't need a freaking middleman in there that creates a platform that has to do it for you. And you're giving me new respect for static site generators. I'm loving this. Have you heard of Bandwagon?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
I've just recently managed to finally watch the. There was on the Lorenzo's music podcast. He talked to Ben Pate of Bandwagon. So I had this on my list for a long time to finally watch that, and I finally got around to it. So it's super interesting. Yeah, I love that so many people are approaching the same space from different angles.
Yeah.
Because there's Faircamp, which I'm doing, and then there's mailto, for instance, which have a
Yeah.
like a cooperative approach. There's Jam Co-op, which are also doing, I think, something along that direction. And then Bandwagon again adds another twist. So he's more coming directly from the Fediverse angle, and also thinking a lot about financial sustainability from the start, which is also great.
Yes.
That's, for
Yeah.
instance, something I'm rather weak on, I would say, but I'm trying to
Hey, you have
improve.
a checkbox.
A checkbox, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, and I'm gonna be talking to Ben hopefully in a couple of weeks as well. Lorenzo beat me to it apparently, but if Faircamp and Bandwagon had to fight to the death, which application would win?
I would say Bandwagon. They're just
What?
cooler. I don't know.
You're supposed to say your application.
Oh no.
All right. Well, I'll ask Ben the same question. Let's see if he agrees when I talk to him. And it looks like that you have quite a few users using Faircamp right now. Do you have a good community around it, and like folks asking for feedback or features, and what do you have anything coming down the pipe?
Yeah, so I really love the community that has formed around Faircamp. So A, very active, B, very helping each other. There's like the Faircamp hashtag on Mastodon, and there's just regularly discussions popping up, questions. So it's really cool to see like people help each other out, and it's also great for me to follow just sort of the kind of problems that people have and are dealing with, and how they go about it or how they think about it. It's just super valuable to me to also get an insight of how other people look at it, because I form some kind of an image in my mind how people work with this and what the problems are, but it's a whole different story, right? To be able
Right.
to look over people's shoulders and see, okay, but this is what's actually going on.
Yeah.
And it's kind of it's not so simple to set that up actively, right? So if you do like UX research, if you really say you book a session with someone to use the software and to look how they're doing it, that's super cool, but it also takes a lot of effort. And often
Yes.
I feel like these casual interactions on the Fediverse, they represent exactly that. but minus the whole effort, right, to organize it, to orchestrate it. So I can basically just hang out, and sometimes, I don't know, I just follow the hashtag, and I see that people exchange over some topics around Faircamp, and that almost gives me that same insights, and that's so cool, right?
Well, and it's that's an excellent point, right? Like you can watch the communications, that how the community is interacting with itself. I, as an IT person, know that like I can go to GitHub, but a lot of people aren't going to be as honest there because it's, or wherever your code is hosted. I'm not sure, but GitHub is, where we basically talk about. Um, but there's a certain kind of person that goes there and might not be as honest or explain it as well. Whereas if you're seeing these random conversations through the Faircamp hashtag, you're getting a whole different view of it. So you actively watch the community through Mastodon like that.
Yeah. There's also, I think there's probably a lot of other places also where this kind of talk happens, but of course I cannot follow everything, and I also
Yeah.
just cannot know that these happen sometimes. But luckily I'm on Fediverse, so these I can follow. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great because again, this is one of those, we always have this idea on the Fediverse that it's not private, but we like no one's tracking me, no one's following me. And now Simon is checking out every single hashtag Faircamp post just to get another genius idea to put in there. Do you have any big aspirations for Faircamp, or do you have any things you want to do with it?
So right now, my my prime goal is to lower the barrier for using it, because I think like static site generators in general, they're widespread in the sort of more like among nerds, let's say, and among hackers.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you're deep into that kind of technology, you kind of get why this is cool and why you
Yep.
want to use it. And so in that, and I also see that with Faircamp, right? That I don't have to explain it too much to people, which are already in my sort of bubble, because they get these ideas already, right? They share my sort of problem space also, that websites break all the time and that they just want to have something that works, etc. But then again, going out to a broader audience, that's super hard, because I feel like also all of the culture around static site generators is very much steeped into this idea that everybody already knows why this makes sense and how you use it
Yeah.
and what kind of tools you use, so text editors, terminal, etc. And so I really am interested into exploring how to make static site generation more accessible and, if you will, more like understandable and relatable also to a wider public. And this is sort of my prime goal, really. Whichever measures need to be pursued to make that happen, that I'm super invested into.
Well, and that's an excellent point, because let's be honest, what someone that is non-techie but still wants to put their music out there, what are they going to do? They're going to go to Bandcamp, right? Because they don't have to worry about that stuff. But as Bandcamp and other things do what they're doing to make line go up, you need to meet them at least closer to where they're at, right? Like you can't expect them to learn SSHing into a Linux box, doing a Git clone of the repository, let alone then building the site. Like that is, for a lot of people, they'll see that and they'll immediately shut off. So I love that you're trying to reach people at the level they're at, while I'm guessing still having as much customizability for nerdier folks that want to tweak and edit and dive in deep.
Yeah, that's in fact an interesting sort of let's say a sub problem space here. For instance, customization. So lots of people, if you already know the toolbox like CSS, JavaScript, etc. Of course, the first angle that you're going to approach customization from might be that, right? You might ask for CSS customization, because obviously that's super powerful, right? You can go into every last detail, and you can work also with an expertise that you've already built over the years. But and I get that, and sort of in general, I want to also support that angle as much as possible. But then I also have to see it from the other side, that if I want Faircamp to also appeal to people who have no background info, background expertise on CSS, for instance, then it's kind of hard to say, okay, you can customize Faircamp via CSS, because what are they going to do with that?
Right.
So, and that's then it gets kind of interesting, because then what are the alternatives, right? And then I think about, okay, maybe I can have a theming system. I mean, there is a theming system in Faircamp. And then my idea is basically, how can I make that as useful as possible to also people who now compare it to basically the power of CSS, right? Who really want to go down into the last details. And how can I get as close to that basically with the theming system? And I think that's an interesting problem space that I'm also exploring with Faircamp. How is that possible? And how can you basically make both sides happy
Right.
with this, and not produce something that is maybe, I don't know, not interesting to either of them, or I don't know, where just one side is happy with it. So tricky
And
things.
one of the things that I saw, because the problems with static site is, and not having it connected to something like the Fediverse or automatically going out to X or something like that, is how do you keep your users engaged, right? And you have an RSS built in to Faircamp, so people can sign up to RSS. And it actually made me wonder, and I figured this had to be out there. There is an RSS to Fediverse bot that someone is working out there. So like, you already have the RSS. I don't know if something like that would work, but again, the Fediverse stuff is hard. But I just thought that was interesting. Not to detract from your projects. Your projects are amazing, but I saw you had RSS in there. Moving on a bit though, Hyper8 is your other one. And before we get into Hyper8, it's kind of funny because myself and so many other folks that I know are like, I love PeerTube, but I don't want to set up an entire PeerTube instance. There has to be something else. And it wasn't again until I found Faircamp that I saw Hyper8, which would fit perfectly. So do you want to talk about Hyper8?
Sure, love to. So Hyper8 is pretty much just that, like, I was working on Faircamp already a while, and I had this in the back of my head, can this be done for video? And then I just did it, basically. That's the short story. But the long story, or not so short story, is that I mentioned earlier that I really got into static site generation with that client I have in Vienna. And so they approached me that they want to overhaul their video archive or expand their video archive. So they run a festival that takes place every year, and they have already a vast collection of recordings from the talks and so on. And yeah, basically they wanted to bring that online, and luckily they are also like very conscious about also independent solutions and small solutions. So they had really a willingness to also explore something that is not YouTube, that is not Vimeo, etc., etc. And I felt like, okay, that's so great, because that completely aligns with this idea I had in my head. Can I do static site generation for video archives? And now they have the use case. And so we got together and we applied for funding here in Austria from the state. And we got it. And that was basically, I think, the late 2023, early 2024, if I remember correctly, where basically in a few months I implemented the first beta version of Hyper8. And yeah, since then I just kept going because it just worked really well. And yeah, and now since the start of the year, I have another funded project on Hyper8, and that will run until the end of the year. And I'm super excited about that because now I'm really like I've been a bit like with Faircamp, the 1.0 sprint, if you will, or project. I mean, technically, I'm not sure if at the end of this we will have Hyper8 1.0. Just on paper, definitely in terms of feature set, I think it will be along those lines. But yeah, basically, I think this will really push Hyper8 over a certain threshold where it gets like super interesting. I mean, I think it's already interesting, but there's just some basics that I still wanted to add. So super excited to get these in now through this project.
So I'm pulling up videos and I'm clicking around on the videos, and they like load instantaneously. There's no buffering. There's no. How do you get this so fast? Do you serve the entire video up front or? Okay, well, there's some buffering there.
Yeah, no,
Or
I
it
mean,
might not be buffering. It might just be a paused section. No, it's not a paused section. But anyway.
so if you were clicking through the videos on my side, then it's really just like I have a fairly cheap hosting plan. I think I pay like €4 a month, and that hosts everything I host, like my whole website, Faircamp, Hyper8, this video site. So yeah, I must say that the videos on my page, I compress them fairly aggressively. And I think I also usually host them definitely at no higher resolution than full HD. That's as high as I go with that. So yeah, but technically there's no special magic involved. This is really just the browser video implementation that's at work there. So if it's fast, it's just because the server happens to be fast and the video not too big, and maybe us getting a bit lucky. But it's not really anything magic that I did.
But no, again, though, it's the whole idea of static site generation again is that it can be fast. It loads and that's it. It doesn't have to constantly do callbacks. I have a cheap little laptop. I can't even run Twitch's website anymore because it's so slow because they're trying to load so much and get so much out of you, where this is like, here is the content that you wanted. And that's fast. I like sparse. It looks sparse. You can edit it as much as you want, like you said, but I always think it looks clean that way too. This is very clean. Like, you want the video, you get the video and nothing else. And I feel ridiculous saying stuff like that. But in today's internet, there's just shit everywhere with people trying to figure out new ways to take money. Sorry, don't mean to get in that. No, this is great. What can you say what you feel would be 1.0? Some of the features that you're missing now?
Yeah, so the one thing that I'm not yet working on, but will be the focus of the next months then, that is actually desktop integration. So Hyper8 has a graphical editor that you can use, but you have to start it using the terminal. So basically you start the server in the terminal and then you use it through the browser. And that is a problem because I want to reach also a wide audience, right? I don't want to limit usage to people who know how a terminal works or who are at least not afraid of using it. So this is one major task in this whole project, to wrap this whole thing into one graphical application that you can just start from a desktop, and then you get an own application window for that, and then you can use the graphical user interface through that. So that is like the core feature of that project. But
Okay.
besides that, the more like granular and also big-ish features are, for instance, FTP deployment. That's something that came with the last release. So you can basically now just enter all the FTP credentials right in the in this graphical user interface, and then hit the deploy button, and it deploys it for you. It even does some checks that you don't overwrite the wrong stuff. So you basically configure the public address of your site, and then it uploads a test file via FTP, and then it tries to fetch that test file it uploaded through the public address, and only if it finds it exactly in the spot where it has to be, it continues with the actual deployment. So this is a nice way to prevent people from accidentally syncing over their actual website or some other website or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited about this, also because it lets me sleep peacefully at night still. Because
So-
shipping an FTP client is a bit, yeah, like normally I don't think too much about releasing stuff, but with that FTP deployment stuff,
Yeah.
I was like, things can go wrong. But with that stuff in place, I feel a lot more just at ease about releasing that.
So when your stuff is on Codeberg, it seems like. So sorry for saying GitHub, but
No worries.
you don't want to get that late night comment saying your application just overrode my entire production file server or something, right? You're trying to put guardrails on to protect people, but yourself from having to worry about that. Or like the guy that allowed AI to wipe out his database. Things like that. That's no, and these are good things. These are good changes, right? Like we learned in Linux that not everyone, when they mean rm minus f star, actually means rm minus rf star, right? You have to put in some kind of guardrails every once in a while, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think I actually put in, I'm not sure if that is still in place. Probably it still is. So everywhere in Hyper8, where there is functionality that actually deletes stuff on disk, I have a wrapper around the actual delete implementation in Rust, which checks that the delete actually happens within the folder where the operation is supposed to occur. So within the source directory for the website, basically, because that was just to be perfectly sure that it doesn't do weird stuff. Like
So I love this on two levels. One, you're risk adverse, so am I. But two, you're not like you don't blindly trust the software. Like you know it can come back and bite you in the ass. There's too many software developers like, well, I told it to remove it and it removed it. And it's like, yeah, but not the entire file system. It's like, well, that was the code, not me. It's like, you wrote the code. Sorry. I love that. You have so much stuff here. We're definitely not going to have time to get through it. But so you have Feber, a self-hosted group calendar. You have Eno. So can you go give me like the elevator pitch for each of these? What is Feber?
So Feber is a calendar, like a really easy to install and use calendar. It's super, super minimal. It does very few things, but apparently it does that well. So I haven't really gotten any bug reports since a year or so. I don't know. And yeah, basically that's that. I don't plan to add too much to it. You can basically just create accounts, set up like entries in the calendar, browse them, and you can, what's maybe most interesting is that it's just one PHP file plus assets. So you can basically just drag and drop the installation on a PHP server, and then you call it up in the browser and you click through, I think, one form with 5 fields, and then your calendar is up and running. And to move it, you can simply take this folder and move it to another, like drag and drop it to another server, and then it keeps running there. So there's no database, no nothing. And that's the idea behind that.
How many people can it do you theorize can it sync together if it's a group calendar?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know. It's technically like it uses plain text files to persist the data. So that's technically not very fast because it also needs to read from those. Although, I mean, technically it's not plain text files, it's actually PHP files So they probably get cached at some point. I don't know, maybe it's fast-ish after all. But I think you have to really have to have like lots and lots and lots and lots of people using this concurrently to really turn into the problem. But I don't know. It's probably just getting messy, I guess. If so many
Okay.
people put stuff in the calendar. I'm not sure if I designed it to handle like, I don't know, 100 events on one day. Probably not looking good then, but
Okay. No, I asked because one of the community members here was talking about, as soon as we showed this, he's like, I like this guy. And then he said, oh, plain text files? I really like this guy because he handles IT for his company a lot of times. And I think he was looking for a group calendar thing. And someone else earlier said, I was literally just looking for something exactly like this 2 weeks ago. So there you go, everyone. Go check out Feber, and then
very
check out all the other things too while you're there. Eno, data language for people of diverse cultural backgrounds and technical abilities.
yeah.
What is
So
that?
so Eno is basically the language that is used in Faircamp and in Hyper8 to store all the text and configuration alongside the media files. And
Okay.
this is a language that I developed with, again, now we go back to this client again.
Yeah, yeah.
So back then, when we started this project of turning their website basically into a statically generated site, I researched a bit what languages we could use so that they could author the content, basically. So of course we came to things like YAML and TOML,
Yeah.
and I mean they were already familiar with Markdown, I think, so that was very cool. I didn't really have to convince them of that. But in terms of the structural data language around that, so not just the markup for the texts, when I showed them YAML or something, they were a bit like, not sure. Um, so I felt like I was almost happy with TOML, I think, but there were just some things that I felt like weren't good enough for what I wanted to do. Namely, that you still need to have quotes everywhere, for instance. Because I think TOML is great if you need like a little bit more complexity, but for this use case, I really just needed something that looks like a form that you have on paper, right? Where it says name, colon, and then a space where you put in the name, and date, colon, and then a space where you put in the date. And also for multi-line fields, I wanted something that is more like, I don't know, text, colon, and then in the next lines, you just have the content. And then, of course, if it's not a paper form, but digital, you also have to some kind of a way to close it. But basically, in most other data languages, there's always some complication which revolves around escaping.
Okay, right.
That there's like lots of characters that you can accidentally use somewhere, and then weird stuff happens. And then suddenly you have to do a lot of explaining to guide people back on track. And
Yep.
so basically, what I ended up doing is saying, okay, I just want to try out if I can make a language that is exactly fit for this purpose, where you use no quotes anywhere, and where also all white space gets trimmed away, at least in single line values, so that you cannot accidentally, I don't know, mess stuff up with white space. Or for instance, in YAML, this would be a base problem because white space is very functional in the structure. Yeah, and basically this is why Eno exists. It's just a very simple language, and the part about culturally diverse backgrounds. So it's also very much designed around. So there are some data languages which are kind of built around the idea that you actually use ASCII for keys, or to have like some limitations of that kind. And in Eno, it was important for me that if people wanted to use that also, which are not from my cultural background, which are not from Central Europe or wherever,
Right.
that they can just use keys that feature whatever, anything that Unicode can give them, and that this is not a problem. So this is why it specifically mentions also culturally diverse backgrounds. I also
Okay.
had some people, for instance, someone from Japan, for instance, commented also on some of the earlier design decisions, saying, like, because we just write differently, this feature should be designed a bit differently. So there's also some of that stuff which went into the design in the end.
That's awesome though. I mean, being that open that you have people from all cultures that are like, hey, this doesn't make sense for us. Can we switch it? And you immediately didn't say no, that's not the design intent by. You actually listened, and that's great. That's amazing.
Thanks.
You also have C-Suite, I think. Is that how you pronounce it? Minimalist password store.
Yeah, it's a made-up word, so anything goes, I guess. I always pronounce it secret, so it's a bit like secret.
Secret. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also using Eno. It's a bit like I think it's called Pass, the password manager,
Right.
where
Okay.
you have like all your data. You basically have a folder structure, and the folder names are the keys, or like you can have a hierarchy. Like maybe one folder is, I don't know, SSH keys, and then each folder might have a name that describes what that SSH key is for, like which machine, for
Oh,
instance.
nice. Okay. Yeah.
And then the actual
Labels.
passwords are encrypted in GPG encrypted files. And I really like that approach. So it's a super cool password manager. But I wanted to try making that even a bit more minimal and just having one text file, which in this case uses Eno also as the language. And that single file is GPG encrypted, sorry. And sort of what I like about this approach is that if secret, so if the application I wrote that decrypts and accesses that data for you, if that doesn't work anymore, you can just decrypt your secret file using plain GPG tools and access the data that way. So I think it's very proof for like the worst case, that basically the software that I'm shipping does not work at all.
Okay. And again, Eddie said we're gonna need a part two with Simon. Nobody is my favorite, but he's also my favorite now. And I think Eddie is gonna love you even more. He keeps saying secret. And it that is great. I love that. Um but Eddie is an audiophile. Well, I wouldn't say audio. Eddie is actually an audio expert. And so that leads us on to good form. What makes
Oh,
good form a professional audio player that's perpetually stuck in alpha?
yeah. Um, Gee, I didn't think that would come up, but sure, let's talk about it. So good form is something I worked on years ago. I don't even remember exactly when. And so what I wanted to have is something that back then I didn't really find, but now kind of exists. So something that is a bit like Fubar 2000. Not sure if you're familiar with that. It's
Nope.
an audio player that I think only works on Windows. I use it on Windows at least. And it has like a configurable interface, but that was not so much the part I was interested in. But it's just very minimal, and it has a big waveform display where you can seek through the track. And I wanted something like that on Linux also. And back then
Okay.
I didn't find anything. So there was like this gap. On the one hand, you have lots of more casual players, which are more about displaying the artwork and browsing and searching huge music collections, and then also linking it to, I don't know, Jamendo or Last FM, displaying
Okay.
lyrics, searching online
Sure.
databases. And on the other hand of this end of the spectrum, I think you had Audacity and Ardour
Oh, that
and
those I
just
know.
more
Yeah.
like audio production focused tools.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted something that is like in between a bit. So it's not so much about playing back like a playlist at a party and I don't know, connecting it to all sorts of services, but just the raw job of listening to music and having that load fast and display fast and being able to seek fast, and to also, and there it gets a bit more into the professional use cases, to quickly set up, for instance, a loop in that track and to export that. Um, yeah, but on the other hand, to also not have it be a DAW. So not necessarily something for producing audio, but more like to quickly audition it, to cut fragments out, and so on and so forth. But in the end, it's stuck in general alpha, so
Yeah.
not sure if it's going anywhere ever
Okay.
again. But let's see.
And then, and you have other things too, but one of the things that I love is your art, because your art is, how do you call your art? Like, so right now I have the unimpressed robot, or sorry, the unimpressed droid, and I can confirm he looks very unimpressed. But whatever this style is called, I'm not an artist, I'm not a musician. I know what I like, and I love this. Whatever this style is, this is great.
I mean, I would just say it's illustration, very broadly
Illustration. Okay.
speaking. So
But it's like technological, but you see like the parts and stuff of it. Your it it's like high tech. It something kind of reminds me like out of Star Wars, where it is, you know, it's supposed to be a droid, or you have like a little speeder thing here, and you know that it's a mode of movement, or like there's a steampunk looking, it has jet turbines on the side and someone riding like this big basket thing. You it so you have software engineering, definitely. You make art, you're a musician, right? What
was at least, yeah.
yeah, was okay. You just dabble in all kinds of things.
Yeah, I'm just curious like that, I guess. I need to. I love exploring a topic to a great extent, and some of them I drop, I guess. Like in a way, I feel like almost like I dropped music a bit, although not completely. I mean, there's piano behind me,
Okay.
so I occasionally play. But yeah, some things just keep me sort of. They just
So
I don't know.
do you love the process of learning more than you love the process of doing, or is it you just kind of go with, hey, that looks interesting, I'm going to go do that for a while, see how far I can get, and okay, this isn't sticking with me, so I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah, I think it's definitely true that I enjoy the process of learning more than the doing, probably. But this has been like a problem I've been struggling with for a long time. But I feel like I reached a point like some years ago, or maybe it was like a gradual transformation, where I got really fed up also with just starting lots of things and
Okay.
just never getting anywhere with stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like eventually I reached a point, and this is also sort of the mode that I'm in right now, where I'm like very strict about really finishing stuff, where or at least exploring things as long as they really make sense and getting somewhere. And I really enjoy that now, that
That's good.
you really get somewhere. I think I was at at an exhibition by Stefan Sagmeister, so an originally Austrian designer, and I think he also has a lots of in this exhibition there were like lots of artworks around the topic of sort of that it makes you happy to finish things, to set out to do something and to actually
Mm-hmm.
finish it. And I think that's something I'm more and more trying to make my own practice, because I really feel that it makes me happy to finally not live on a pile of to-do lists and just unfinished stuff everywhere, and instead really focusing on a few things and doing this really well, and just taking in somewhere that they really mean more to me and also to other people.
Okay. No, that's great. What like so you have a piano. What all kind of musical instruments do you play?
So I was originally trained in piano. So I think I was at music school for 5 years or so.
Oh, wow.
And then after that, I picked up guitar and played basically at first acoustic guitar, but I think I pretty quickly switched more to electric guitar. And I played in punk bands, hardcore like rock bands, that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Also some post rock, ska punk,
Hell
that kind of
yeah.
stuff for a few years. Yeah, but these days, unfortunately, I barely touch my guitar. There's just so little time, so much to do.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You're too busy running 4 different or more projects for software, right? And doing all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I can't post rock. What is if someone sees this and they want to help you achieve, whatever goals you have? What is the best way someone can help you? Whether that's giving you constructive criticism or volunteering or donating.
So donating always helps. That's an easy
Right.
one. In terms of contributions, what really helps a lot, I feel, is packaging, for instance. So just helping people to use Faircamp, to use Hyper8 on different Linux distros, but also, and even more so, on, for instance, Mac OS or on Windows. I mean, right now I'm doing packaging on Windows myself, for instance, but I feel that in October I will have a bit of a problem there because uh, as as Microsoft are phasing out Windows 10 and forcing people to pick up Windows 11 by essentially not delivering any security fixes for Windows 10 machines, I will not be able to upgrade my Windows 10 machine to Windows 11. So I guess at some point, and probably rather quick, so it will be a bit
Wow.
irresponsible to ship official Windows builds for Faircamp and for Hyper8 from my Windows 10 machine. So this,
Okay.
for instance, if somebody would until then pick up the Windows packaging, they would be my hero for sure. It's also not super complex, so I would totally help in the process. It's all set up. It's really just basically making a git pull and then pasting one line to build and then executing one more automated process to build the installer and then just somehow giving that to me so I can distribute it over the website. So for instance,
Okay.
this is stuff that is really valuable, and I think lots of people want to contribute, but everyone is very quick to jump to the really complex stuff, like, I don't know, take part in architectural work or changes in the front end, which are complex because they interlap other questions and other topics. Whereas there are lots of things like packaging that are just very nicely encapsulated and help me out a great deal because they also don't
Yeah.
draw from my time, right? If a contribution is somewhere in the architectural or in the implementation or in the front end, then it will always have to be me also bringing time to help people to contribute also. So it helps me, but it also drains my resources. So that's
Yeah.
always something that is harder to make happen. Whereas packaging, for instance, is something that you can just package it, and I don't even have to know about it, right? I will totally spread it everywhere, let everyone know, but it can totally happen with my involvement. So this helps me a lot, for instance. So, and the same goes
Nice.
also for like promo, like just spreading the word, writing tutorials, sharing it on different channels, helping people, giving support. Also, for instance, if people report bugs, just investigating bugs and researching where they happen. That's also super cool stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
also research um, for like features that definitely need to be done. Although I have to do a better job also to communicate what exactly is being worked on. I think I'm not super great with that always. Again, also a time question often.
Right. It's a common story. I think we're all used to the developer that disappears for 6 months and then puts out a blog post. No, I'm not dead. I'm still here. I'll get better, I promise. And it's like, no, heads down, get it done. No, that's all great things, and a lot of folks don't even mention something as simple as packaging, right? Like A lot of times, once you run through the steps once, you have the same steps to package the app again. And as you said, it's not difficult, but it is time consuming. And especially if you don't have the resources. So if anyone is out there, Eddie, that is interested in helping out Simon, I'm sure he would appreciate it. He's already said he would. And promo, I mean, one of the things that a former guest told us, Leo, was if you want this video to kind of go to your PeerTube instance or your Mastodon and whatnot, interact with it. Like, subscribe to the channel. There's no algorithm. I'm not making ad money or anything, but it's to help spread that, hey, there is content out on the Fediverse and we can all run our own stuff and we can talk to people like Simon and learn about awesome projects like Faircamp. So make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, flash the button, light the thing on fire, blow up the chat, whatever. I don't know what they say. I'm not a YouTuber, even though I'm putting my stuff on YouTube. So, but now for the real reason I asked Simon here is to give him the opportunity to win a prize of a lifetime. Our prize today is an 8-track player that only plays record cassette discs from the future.
Amazing.
I thought about a treadmill that goes so slow it makes the pitch drop experiment look fast, but I figured it wouldn't get you anywhere. Are you ready for the quiz, Simon?
Totally.
All right. Favorite. Oh, I'm an idiot and I love it. Favorite movie? Why is it Spaceballs?
Oh man. Okay. Maybe because of that line. There's like I only watched that movie in German. I think it's been
Okay.
also been forever that I watched it, and I think about the only thing I remember is in terms of dialogue is that line. Möter, halb Mensch, halb Köter. So if it's the only thing I remember, I guess that has to be the thing. It's about that Chewbacca. So
Barf.
the yeah, probably that person, creature, entity, whatever. Basically, and there's like this scene where somebody explains, I guess the hero, the Han Solo equivalent, explains to someone who, what they are, and yeah,
Okay.
that's I think the only thing I remember from
He's
Spaceballs.
he's a Mog, and the hero is Lone Star. I know you know this. You just want me to say it, right? Because everyone knows Spaceballs. But if sorry, if that's not your favorite movie, what's your favorite movie? And I do this because I love to find new movies and watch new movies. So
Oof. Okay, I'll name something really obscure, so obscure that it's probably unlikely that you're going to find it, but it's something that was very
all right.
influential to me. So when I was about, I don't know, let's say 20 or so, I'm not even sure. So I was studying back then, and some friends of mine were running a student cinema at the Technical University in Vienna.
Okay.
So I don't know, every few weeks they would just present a movie in the biggest teaching hall of that university, in the Audimax. And at one point, we came there to watch a movie that's called AOEO, so AOEO.
I'm never finding that.
all,
I'm
yeah,
never finding that.
I probably won't either. No, but I think there's probably still some references to it online, but I think you can't watch it, I guess. Maybe a trailer or something could be.
2005.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, maybe it's 2005. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, that could be it. And so it's about a masked
Yeah.
person. So the person wears a mask throughout the movie.
Okay.
That is kind of a rock musician also, and he lives like this kind of lonesome life in the city, and always crawls up on the roofs to like look into the sun and over the roofs. So they get really nice shots, although it's like a no budget or low budget movie done by students for students. And yeah, I think they have great music. They produced it all themselves, so they have like a soundtrack with some rock, jazz, some ballads, just beautiful music. I still love it, still listen to it, still have the soundtrack. And I think just the soundtrack of it. I mean, I also like the movie. It's a bit weird and doesn't make too much sense, I would say. But I really loved just the whole package, and that was very inspiring and influential to me, just in terms of the mood it conveys. And one more thing, when we watched it, so we were actually like, I think nobody showed up, but the three of us. So it was the three of us sitting in an empty, huge teaching hall at university watching that movie, and that was really a beautiful evening, and it's just very, I don't know, I just remember it still.
Nice.
So
No, I mean it connected you and your friends together, right? Like that's awesome. It looks interesting. Oh,
yeah,
it's definitely indie budget. Looking at some of it now, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Okay, I'm just seeing the trailer is all. The
yeah.
trailer is out there, but I don't know where the movie is. Okay, all right. Next question: fairs, camps, or circuses?
Fairs, definitely fairs.
Okay, why a fair over a camp or a circus?
I just love fairs, but just to be clear, because I might be mixing things up because it's not my first language, but
No, no, you're fine.
I'm thinking roller coasters and
Sure.
that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I just love,
A fair festival, something like that. Yeah, it has
yeah,
rides, food, stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Like I definitely, I just like the vibe sort of, and like I'm more a quiet person. I need lots of quiet also, but I just really enjoy like walking through a fair and like all the people that are like super joyful. Like for instance, I'm generally in some conceptual sense, I'm a big fan of Disneyland and such. I don't like it so much in a sort of realistic perspective because there's just lots of stuff wrong with Disney, for instance,
Yes,
as
yes,
like
yeah,
this huge
yeah.
corporation. But sort of if you see it from a very innocent,
It's
naive
joyful.
perspective, the kind of stuff that Walt Disney basically says about it, that
Yeah,
he wants like the happiest place on the planet or something like that.
yeah,
So on that level, if you sort of um, if you exclude all the negativity that it also brings
yeah,
in the implementation
yeah,
on this planet, I'm really fond of the idea in general, and then I enjoy sort
yeah.
of being at a fair and at least cultivating this thought that maybe this could really exist without any harmful and shitty side effects it has. Right?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it's the joy, right? It's the just the pure joy that people can have. One of my friends, he goes to Disney World three at least 3 times a year, and he said, I don't agree with their copyright stuff. I don't agree with, all the corporate side of it. He's like, but when you're at Disney World, it's just the time of your life, and if something's wrong, they have the power to make it right, and they will make it right. So it's just they want the pure joy. Just don't look behind the curtain, right?
Right.
That's how it is. No, that's good. I like that. Okay. Next question is piano, harpsichord, or electronic keyboard?
Piano, definitely piano.
Because you played piano for 5 years.
Yeah, I just think it's a beautiful instrument. I just feel like really even if you can't play very elaborately, I think it's just for me it just makes me happy to try stuff and just listen to the sounds. It's just very pleasant. It's also hard to get things. I mean, there's no wrong in music at all, but sort of it's hard to
That
make very, let's
no,
say, dissonant things. It's
no. I'll
yeah.
sit me down at a piano, and it will definitely be wrong. I am not a musician at all. I have a lot of skills in life. Music and art are not one of them or two of them. But next question is, what does an alternate universe Simon do?
Huh, interesting. Yeah, maybe art actually, because I mean,
As
I
an
do have
artist?
some stuff on my website that kind of looks like I'm doing art, but I really don't have. Let's put it that way. I feel like since some years, like I studied arts actually. I studied digital art, and I kind of enjoyed exploring exploring different ways to create, for instance, to design things, to make things. But in a way, these days, I feel with software engineering, for instance, with projects I do, I can contribute some things that are very valuable to others that I personally couldn't contribute on an art level. I think you can contribute a lot through art as well,
Yeah.
but I'm just not there at this point, I think. Or I feel like I can contribute so much more, let's put it that way, with the projects I'm doing. So that's for me also a reason why I don't really, almost don't allow myself also to really look into art that much these days. So I think in an alternate universe, maybe it would be the other way around, and I would be so deep in art, I wouldn't do anything else but art, maybe.
Okay. Chat has a fan theory that since you already do everything, you've collapsed all universes down into yourself. No?
Amazing.
So, but I reached out to an alternate universe Simon. I have a alternate universe phone right here. Don't ask. It's very technical. You don't want to know. And when I reached out to an alternate universe Simon, he told me that he also works on static site generators. When I asked him for more information, he said that he has a room with a shag carpet, and then he has folks wear wool socks and they have to shuffle around and touch doorknobs to get shocked. So I don't know how much money there is in an alternate universe for his kind of static site generators, but best of luck to him.
Nice.
Yes. I mean, don't thank me. He's the one that's doing it, obviously. Well, and if you believe in multiple universes, he exists now. So, next question is Vienna Zoo, Soccer Tort, or Albertina?
What was that second one? Soccer?
Soccer Tort?
Sachertorte. Gotcha. Yeah, Sachertorte, definitely.
Okay, and
I
why?
love cake. I love cake. I eat lots of cake, too much cake probably. But yeah,
Okay.
I'm not sure. Like, no, I removed it, but I think the first 3 years or so that I was on Mastodon, my header picture was actually a picture of a plate with a cake on it, I think,
Oh, nice.
at Aida in Vienna.
That's
So at a coffee shop, a coffee place.
and that's purely coincidental. I'm showing a picture of Soccer Tort. How do you pronounce it? I always thought it was Soccer Tort.
It's Sachertorte.
Okay, I was close. I speak two
I first
English,
thought,
two languages.
yeah, no worries, no worries.
Two,
Yeah, Sachertorte is great. I love it. I mean,
but
I
it
think
just looks. It's a chocolate cake.
yeah, it's a
That's not
chocolate
what I
cake.
want.
Yeah.
Go.
I mean, I think there's one layer of jam. That's what makes it a Sachertorte, I guess, as opposed to just a chocolate cake. But I really only eat
Oh, that
them.
looks
I'm
good.
not too involved in the making and in the
You
theory of
just
cakes. So
you want to get to the good part. You don't want to mess with all the other stuff, right? All right. And then, as usual, the last question will be sent to Simon telepathically. Simon, I'll send you the message. I'll let you know after I sent it, which you'll have gotten it, so you know. Take your time, think through your answer, and then let us know your answer, okay? You ready? Your psychic sense is open?
mhm.
All right. Here comes a question. Okay. I know it's a huge question. It's about 500 pages long. Take your time. But because brains can just instantly, absorb things, you got that whole question. So take your static cake generator when? Oh, there you go. Asking the real questions. But take your time. Think about that question that I sent to you 100% telepathically. And let me know your answer whenever you're ready.
It's a sheep on an island.
Wow. I did not see that coming. That's bad. So why is it a sheep on an island?
It really just came to me. It was
Okay. I mean,
almost like a a premonition. It was there
Yeah.
even almost before you sent the question telepathically. And
Okay.
then, surprisingly, it perfectly aligned with the question as well.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, wow.
there you go. A sheep on a mountain.
Island.
An island. Sorry. A sheep on an island. So there you go. That's the answer. That's the answer we were all looking for. Thank you. That was great.
You're welcome.
All right.
Sure.
Congratulations. You got every answer either right or wrong. Good job.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I tasked one of our community members, Captain Bitches, to deliver your 8-track player that only plays record cassette discs from the future. And they attempted to play a regular 8-track in it, and it unraveled this fabric of space-time and sucked the player into a black hole along with Captain Bitches. Once we catch up to their timeline in the future, we'll make sure to punish them accordingly. But that's all we have today. Simon, I want to thank you so much for coming to hang out. I hope you had a ridiculous time and it was at least somewhat entertaining. Thank you.
It was great.
Thank you so much for all of the different applications you make. Faircamp, Hyper8, Feber, all the art you have. I'm going to check out your page more because you have a lot of cool art on there. But yeah, again, I'll have all of Simon's donation links up if you use his stuff, if you've been looking for it and you want to help donate in some ways. As you heard, it's not necessarily monetary. Simon needs help with packaging and all kinds of other things. Thank you to everyone else out there on the Fediverse. All of you folks are why we're all here. But don't forget to tip your admins, your software developers. The money helps. I think they like to eat. I don't know, though. I mean, I know I like to eat. I can't speak for anyone else. And if you like what we do here, we have BT Free, nonprofit organization that I'm still in the process of setting up. Maybe it'll be complete one day, but baby steps. But that's it. I hope everyone has a great day. Please make sure to take care of yourselves. You're all worth it. Your mental health is absolutely necessary for you to be the best person you can be. And we'll catch you next time. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.